Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again. I mentioned police militarization in that last video, and man, my inbox blew up with people asking me to talk about it. So here we are. This video might get a little long, something I've thought about a little bit. The problem starts with the idea of the warrior cop, okay? And by that, they want to mimic the military. And what they think warrior means is killer. See, most of the military isn't killers. Not half, not a third, not a quarter, not 10%. 4%. 4% of the military are killers. If you want to look into this topic, there's a book called On Killing by Lieutenant Colonel Grossman. Highly recommend it. So they've equated killing with being a warrior. If you've done that, you're probably neither, to be honest. A warrior, everybody in the military is a warrior. And I'll tell you right now, those guys in civil affairs or the CBs, they've kept more bad guys off the battlefield than any trigger puller. Those irrigation ditches for farmers, the bridges, the schools, that infrastructure, that keeps people off the battlefield, gives them options. That's funny because we understand this during wartime. The military gets it. But here at home, well, Flint's water will fix itself. We don't really need to worry about education. It's not like crime and poverty and a lack of options go hand in hand or anything. But anyway, so they're warrior cops. And what they mean is they're killers. And they want the toys that go with that. So that's one issue. The other issue that's happening at the same time is that they're law enforcement now. They're law enforcement. Their job is to enforce the law, not protect the public. And that's changed. Now, what that means, though, if you're no longer a public servant, your job is strictly to enforce the law, it means you're personally responsible on a moral level for every law on the books. If you don't agree with it and you're willing to enforce it, well, then you're just a hired goon. If you're a cop in an area where feeding the homeless is illegal, you're a bad cop, period, full stop. If you're willing to enforce that law, you're a bad cop. Now, I know that's going to be hard for a lot of people to swallow, but it's the truth. If your interest is no longer protecting the public and it's only enforcing the law, you're just accepting orders and taking a paycheck to do it, using violence, you're a hired goon. So you have those two issues that have shifted. And then you have the propaganda that they've put out to justify them being warriors. And I say propaganda because most of it's not true, and we're going to go through it right now. You know, you hear about X number of law enforcement killed every year, and it's normally more than 100. And they get those numbers from the Officer Down Memorial page. Go take a look, and look at the cause of death. When you think killed in the line of duty, man, you're thinking bullets, not cheeseburgers. Cop dies of a heart attack on shift. Well, he was killed in the line of duty. They do anything they can to inflate those numbers. Now, the problem with that is, I mean, if you're going to run propaganda, fine, but don't believe it yourself, and that's what's happened. They've convinced themselves now that everybody's out to get them and they're in a hyper-dangerous job. And because of that, they're real quick to pull a trigger. Real quick. And that leads to mistakes and unjustified killings. You know, I was part of the team of journalists that ripped apart that study by, I think it was the Washington Times. It might have been the Washington Post a couple years ago. And the idea behind the study was to dissect unarmed killings and find out how many they were. Problem is they intentionally skewed the statistics because they counted anybody that the police said they thought they were armed as armed. So if you're holding a cell phone and a cop killed you, and he said, well, I thought it was a gun, you're armed in that study. When you're not trying to skew the statistics, 1 out of 10 people were killed while unarmed. That's pretty high. That is pretty high. Now, I know there's some people saying, well, that's 10%. That's not really that bad, is it? Let's put it in another perspective. Let's say you order a pizza once a week, and 5 times a year, guy brings you the wrong order. You're probably going to stop ordering from there. You hold a pizza delivery driver more accountable for the accuracy of your order than you do a cop for the accuracy of his bullets. But that's fitting, because being a pizza delivery driver is actually more dangerous than being a cop. Not a joke. Bureau of Labor Department statistics. Being a cop, not really that dangerous. Not a lot of deaths, really. It's not even in the top 10. Loggers, fishermen, roofers, delivery drivers, all have more dangerous jobs. But they don't know that. They've bought into their own propaganda. So you hear things like, well, I want to go home at the end of my shift. Why don't you do that and stay there? Your duty is not bounded by risk, my friend. We know you want to go home at the end of your shift. Everybody does. That's completely understandable. The unarmed people that were killed, they wanted to go home too. You chose this profession. They probably didn't choose to interact with you. So you have this issue. They truly believe that there's a war on cops. There's not, but they believe there is. And they want to be warrior cops, and by that they mean killers. So what do you need? Well, you need warrior toys, right? You need flashbangs and suppressed MP5s. You need MRAPs, that SWAT team. Now, a SWAT team's supposed to be a life-saving tool. It really is. It's why it was designed. It's also supposed to be rarely used. It's in the name, that first letter, S, special. It's not supposed to be used for every penny ante drug dealer so you can look cool in your Oakleys, so you can be an operator. You know, and it's funny, with those drug raids now, a whole lot of them, you're starting to see it in the newspaper. No drugs were found. Of course not. You pulled up in an MRAP. You ever stood outside the thing when it was running? You can hear it a mile away. As soon as you turn the corner, they were flushing it. Now, I personally don't have a problem with that one because I don't really agree with prohibition anyway. But that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about the flashbangs. Now, they're low-grade concussion devices is what they are. They call them distraction devices because they want to make it sound like it's a firecracker. But these things can maim, and they do, especially when they're misused and used by people that don't have training. And that's what happens. They get these toys, but they don't get the training to go with it. So they throw them through windows into cribs. Or they throw them in before a raid. They haven't hit the place with thermal. They have no idea where the people inside are. And that leads to problems too. Or, yet another example, saw a video. They hit the guy with a concussion grenade, or with the flashbang, and then they start giving him commands. A lot of light, a lot of sound, blinds, deafens, and disorients. He can't hear him. He couldn't comply if he wanted to. And we know what happens if you don't comply with a cop, right? Comply or die. That's what happened to him. They killed him. They got the toys, they don't have the training. And then when you look at the SWAT teams themselves, you know, almost every jurisdiction has one now. And when you look at them, when they're doing their training and their little promo videos, man, they look good. Most of them got some guy from some high-speed army unit to come out and train them. And they're doing it, man. They got it. They're clearing rooms. They're cutting the pie. They got it. Of course, if you want to be an operator and you want to mimic those high-speed teams, do it. You know how much intelligence work goes into one of those operations before one of those shooters ever puts his foot on a door? Not a whole lot of times when you're going to see one of those units kick in a door on the wrong address, or at the right address, but the guy that lived there moved 2 years ago, because they don't get their target location out of DMV records. I've known some criminals in my day. Updating their driver's license address, not really a high priority, guys. Yeah, y'all need to knock that off. So there's that. They have the toys. They don't have the training, but they think they do. And that leads to a discrepancy between perceived capability and actual capability. And then that causes more problems. Because the perceived capability, when you say SWAT team, I mean, those guys, they're operators, right? They got their Oakleys. They know what they're doing. In real life, almost any time one of these small jurisdictions with their SWAT team encounters real resistance, they get greased because they ran into somebody with actual capability. And it was like that case out there in Texas. It encompasses almost all of this. SWAT team kicks in the door, throws in a flashbang. Then they move in. One guy stops the whole team, kills 3 of them. They were there to get his nephew, who wasn't home, was not there. And then, because they did it the way they did, and he was deafened, he couldn't hear them identify themselves. He was found not guilty. Killed 3 of them. That's going to happen more and more because they're focusing their training on killing, not being a warrior. There's a whole lot more to being an operator than just poking holes in paper. You want to be that, you're going to have to up your training a whole lot. But there's no real need for it. Again, police violence against police, it's not a dangerous job. There is no war on cops. There should be no warrior cops. Anyway, it's just a thought. I could go on for hours on this topic, but I'm going to cut it short. You guys really, law enforcement needs to rethink this. The more they step away from their role as public servants and from their role as protectors of the public and more into, we're just going to enforce whatever law we're told, and we're going to use these tools that we have, these weapons, to do it, there's going to be more and more fatalities. And for the record, guys, that M4 or that MP5, that's a tool. You're the weapon if you're a warrior. And then when we're back to that topic of I want to go home at the end of my shift, you want to be a warrior? Maybe somebody in the comment section will acquaint you with what the way of the warrior really is. Anyway, y'all have a nice night. Just a thought.